Hello, this is Retroburn, and in this video we're going to cover the very basics of fighting monsters and other enemies in Sunless Sea. These cornerstone game mechanics are important Sunless Sea combat tips. Now, while there are three types of Sunless Sea battle scenarios, namely 1. Engaging an enemy underwater while having only forward pointing weapons. 2. Engaging an enemy on the surface while having only forward pointing weapons. 3. Engaging an enemy on the surface while having forward and aft pointing weapons. And 4. Engaging an enemy underwater while having forward and aft pointing weapons. We can disregard the first two as they are so simplistic, and the mechanics on how to carry out combat in those situations will be covered as we discuss the third scenario anyway. The fourth scenario also won't be covered as it's 100% similar to the third one. A word of warning though, when underwater, be mindful of two things: your oxygen level and your proximity to land masses like islands. Also, I provided several important bonus tips at the end of this guide, so make sure to watch this video in its entirety. It would be good for you and good for me, a win-win. Now with those said, on to this Sunless Sea guide. When starting the game, some players might think that an aft pointing weapon is too situational. One might think, this is just for running away and so won't be as useful. I used to think this way too, but as of this writing, I haven't changed my ship, and I'm on the way of finishing not one, but two Sunless Sea ambitions. To survive this long is a testament of many things, foremost of which is my ability to put down enemies with forward and aft pointing weaponry. So, why does having both types of weapons be advantageous? But guys, before we answer that, however, please consider sharing this video and subscribing. Doing any of these would greatly help this channel. It's free, and you can always decide to unsubscribe later. Thanks guys. Now for the answer. The answer is, you can leverage cooldowns while having the opportunity to dance in and out of the threat range of the enemy. Here's how I do it. Start by clicking on the target. Make sure to turn your light off to make you harder to spot. Fire your first shot by clicking the button for your forward-facing weapon. If you have a lump of blue scintillack, click it to refresh the cooldown and fire again. Immediately bring your vessel about to make your aft section face the target. A tip: just before your forward arc swings from the enemy though, take a chance and fire again. With any luck, it will hit. It's important that you fire on the exact second before your forward arc swings away from your enemy. Doing so would ensure you maximize your firing solution before your front-facing weapon swings away, increasing your chances of scoring a hit. Now, continue spinning away from the enemy. Fire with your aft weapon as soon as you achieve a firing solution. If you already have due to the scintillack, fire immediately once any part of the rear arc touches the enemy. Once the enemy is in your forward arc again, back up from the target and wait for your crew to acquire a firing solution. Doing so would minimize the chances of you getting rammed, if you're up against a monster, and would also put some distance between you and your target, increasing the chances of it losing sight of your ship. Do monitor the cooldown of your scintillack though. If you see it's nearing the end of its cooldown period, and if your rear firing weapon is deadlier than your front-facing one, immediately spin around. This ensures that you fire your aft cannon more times in a single encounter, maximizing the damage you dish out over time. Always though, apply that technique of firing again on the exact second before your rear arc swings away from your enemy. Also, prioritize having the enemy in your rear arc, as for weapons in the same price bracket, rear firing weapons usually have a better damage stat. Moreover, this also ensures you're always widening the distance between you and your enemy. Once you fire though, do immediately whirl around, as rear firing weapons do cool down slower than forward facing ones. Repeat the steps above, being mindful that you always apply the technique I outlined, and you should be maximizing your damage over time potential. That's it for the main part of this guide. I've used that technique for more than half of the time this last playthrough of mine, and it hasn't failed me. Now, for the bonus tips. Bonus tips. For vessels with only forward-facing weapons, there are pros and cons you should be aware of. These are 1. You'll have an easier time in that weapons that require the forward slot are typically very powerful ones. They also have a longer range. 2. Needless to say, you won't be able to utilize the techniques I outlined earlier. If the combat isn't going well and you need to widen the distance between you and your target, you won't have the opportunity to fire every time you turn about and retreat. 3. Aft-facing weapons typically have a much longer stagger effect on enemies. Forward-facing cannons are inferior in this aspect. The quasi-stun effect is very useful, especially when facing enemies that deliver massive damage per shot, and which also have a stagger effect. Also, do not forget that your stats greatly affect your Sunless Sea battles. Iron increases the damage you dish out, the Veil's stat makes you more difficult to spot, and the Mirror stat makes your weapons cool down faster. Officers also provide bonuses to several statistics, and while all officers provide stats boosts, a few do have the deleterious effect of debuffing a single stat, so be mindful of which officers you have active if you're spoiling for a fight. The game also has a leveling up mechanic, and so at the beginning, the buffs officers provide won't be as significant. Keep this in mind when engaging enemies in the early game. And that's it, the combat basics of Sunless Sea covered. This has been Retroburn, and if you like this video and would like to support my content, please comment, share, like the video, and or subscribe. But doing all 4 would be epic. It would go a long way in supporting my efforts to produce more videos for you, my fellow PC gamers. Stay cool, stay frosty.